to How to Ground During Turbulent Times. I'm Mary from Rivers Journey Wellness, and today I have a special guest who is going to give us some tips on how to stay grounded, and better yet, how to ground when you are feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Oh, and before I forget, if you stick around to the end, we'll have a couple goodies that'll help you with easing your worry, easing your stress, easing your anxiety in turbulent times. So let me introduce my guest to you. I have with me Angelica Ward from Sacred Sparrow Wellness. She's also an energy healer and an intuitive coach, and we've been talking about this for many months.
That we
And
have.
and we're just getting ready to actually launch our podcast together. And this felt like the perfect topic for us to just start our journey together. So I am going to let Angelica say a few words about herself.
Right, great. Thanks for having me, Mary. Yes, I am coming to this work. I'm an energy healer as well as Mary is, and an intuitive coach. I have a background in social work, although I do not practice with that license anymore, but have that background. And so basically just have gotten more interested in this energy healing field and have been focusing on that. And as Mary mentioned, both of us in our, I think, personal lives and professional lives have been just hearing so many more people coming to us with a lot of stress and anxiety. And the last few months have been pretty unsettling, I think, for
Yes.
most people and pretty turbulent. So we really just wanted to address that and talk about maybe what's going on in your body and how you can help stay grounded and keep yourself from really spinning out.
Exactly. So we're going to just jump right into this topic of how to ground during turbulent times. We'll be leading you through a simple grounding technique at the end if you stick around. But let's talk first about what happens to your body when you start to feel too stressed, too overwhelmed, and ungrounded.
Right, right. That's such a great question. I think most people are familiar with the fight, flight, freeze response. We hear that a lot. And really, when you are feeling very stressed out and anxious, that is your body going into that response mode. It's automatic. It's nothing you really have control over. It's just signals coming from your brain and your adrenal glands that are flooding you with cortisol, and your body responds. So I think we typically have a specific response, whether you are person who typically goes in a fight or flight or freeze, you might notice that within yourself that can show up differently. But that's really what's happening when you're feeling very stressed out. That is a great response to save you when you're in danger. But unfortunately, our brains do not understand the difference between a lion chasing you, as it would have been in the old days, or maybe a work deadline that's really just activating that response. Your body feels like it is in danger. It is just reacting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what's happening just physically in your body. It's just like a chemical response, and your body is reacting, staying activated to keep you safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I talk to my clients about this all the time because
Mhm.
they get frustrated when they're not really sure why did my partner storm out of the room during an argument, or
Mm,
why, if I feel like I'm getting reprimanded, why do I totally shut down and go within? And so
yes.
they're really describing one of those things that they might unconsciously do, right? It's a reaction. And some of it can be trauma related. It can be something
Right.
that this is our pattern from even when we were children, and still it's coming into our adult lives. And that can really be discombobulating for people
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
can't, or don't feel, maybe not can't, but don't feel like they're in control fully of their
Mhm.
mind, body, and spirit. And so I love to introduce this grounding to clients. It's one of the first things that I teach them because I want
Mhm.
them to start to have a skill, a strategy of what to do when I recognize I'm in maybe fight, flight, or freeze. So, why do you
Yes.
think that grounding is important?
That's such a great question and a good point too to make about how you might not recognize that sometimes how your partner is reacting or how you are reacting is in fact that reaction. And sometimes I think people get really frustrated with themselves if they are, let's say, in a meeting and the spotlight's on them and they freeze and they can't say what they wanted to say and then they kind of beat themselves up. But that is your body's automatic response just going into freeze. And so that can be frustrating to experience, but it's so important to recognize those patterns in either yourself or the people you're with. So it's a really good point. I just wanted to say that. But yeah, so grounding, why that is so important is it can really help stop that physical response. If you start to feel it coming on, and you might notice it by your heart rate might go up, it might start racing, your thought process might sort of stop, like you're noticing that you're not really able to make great decisions, or you're just kind of getting a little like whatever it is, you might be shaking, whatever it might be in your own body. What grounding practices can do is to stop that response and just get you back into the present moment and switch your brain off from that reaction.
Yeah, it's like a
That,
reset, right? It's like
yes.
you're resetting not only, well, you're resetting your body first, which will
Hmm.
help to reset the brain, right? When the
Yes,
body's relaxed, the brain sends that all clear message, and then
that's
we
right.
can relax. And I think when I don't know if people are familiar with grounding. I feel like some
Hmm.
people have heard it. Some
Hmm.
people probably have experienced it, especially if they've come to work with people like us. But I just
Yes.
think it's so important for us to have those basic techniques that we can practice so
Hmm.
that when we do notice that stress increasing or feeling overwhelmed or knowing that we're going into a stressful situation, we
Hmm.
have a strategy that we can just pull out of our pocket. So,
That's
do
right.
you find it helpful with your clients teaching them this, or do you start with a different technique?
Yes, I do find it very helpful. We're hearing a lot too about how beneficial meditation is. And I know you and I both use that. And I think that is fantastic. And when we're talking about grounding, I'm really talking about like the step before that. But a meditation practice is wonderful. But even before you get there, we're just like, get into your body, stop the stress response, which is so important because we all know like what high stress lives can lead to. We know this, like if your cortisol level is always activated, if your heart rate is always activated, that is what leads to high blood pressure or heart attacks, or those things that you hear about people who live high stress lives. That's why they're always activated. So really we want to get you into the practice of just bringing that down. Yes, so it's a really important first step, I think,
Yeah.
to learn about grounding. Hmm.
And when I'm teaching people about trying to soothe the body, trying to get back into the body, get back into kind of that present state,
Hmm.
and I know we have similar training, so we probably do this first. We start with breath work, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
so tell me a little bit about how you kind of go through that process with clients.
Sure.
Somebody that maybe isn't familiar with grounding, with breath work, or even not understanding the benefits, which you just listed, but
Mhm.
how do you go about teaching somebody about breath
Sure.
work?
That's a really great question. So as you mentioned, breath work is generally the first way I'll teach about grounding. There's other methods you could use, like visualization and body scanning type of things. But what I love about breath work is we're always breathing, so it's always here with us. It's the most accessible one. It's the easiest one to pull out of your, toolkit if you are starting to feel that panic rise or the stress rise. So, yes, I usually will start with breath work. There are a lot of different types out there you can choose. I think probably the most popular one is the box breathing that people have heard of. I typically use a different one.
I do too. It's not my favorite.
It is
It's
not my favorite
it is
either.
the most typically taught. Not my favorite. Mm-mm.
Right, right. I only mention it because I know that usually if people have heard of breath
Yeah,
work, that's the one they've heard of.
that's the one they
So,
know. Yep. Yep.
so yes, yes. So I will teach something like that, and you practice it with your person too, because modeling that and everything is really also quite calming and shows them like
Mhm.
what they can do. So,
Yeah. And
and I
there's
know
some,
something, go ahead.
oh, I was going to say, and there's something to that. If we're self regulating, that's fabulous, but we can also regulate together,
That's
right?
right.
And that is huge, especially if it's our partner or our kid or somebody that we feel safe with, we trust, and we're able
Mhm.
to go into that place of stillness and quiet with them, right?
That's
To
great.
help them regulate as well.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's, I feel like it's the most basic, and I know I, I kind of jumped in there. I know it's the
Hmm.
basic thing of like starting with breath work, and
Hmm.
as simple as just, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, and just
Yeah.
making sure that exhale is full and deep and complete.
Mm.
We're not fans. I call it four square. I'm not a fan of that one.
Yeah.
What is your favorite technique for breath
So
work?
the my favorite one is I don't know if this is actually what it's called, but I call it ocean breathing because it to me it feels like waves coming in and out, and
Hmm.
it's just really slowing down the breath. And as you mentioned, when you're breathing, it's deep breathing, but it's also really fully breathing into your belly. So your belly is expanding on your inhale and fully contracting on your exhale. And it's important that your exhales are longer than your inhales. For a little science reason that activates your vagus nerve. Anybody who's interested in that, but
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
that's really why that's so helpful. So yeah, so I would just breathe in and then like hold it for a moment. And I give suggestions on the counts, but I let people kind of count on their own because I think that kind of gives you ownership over it. One of the reasons I don't like box breathing is I feel like it's too rigid, and
Yes.
I don't personally like having to hold my breath for like a certain count. So I don't do that for other people. But
That's the part I don't like about it. I think that's, if I had to pinpoint why I hate four square or box breathing, it's
yeah,
because the pause. When
yeah.
we're in a heightened state, when we're feeling anxious or stressed, holding
Mhm.
our breath actually is not going to activate that parasympathetic nervous
That's
system.
right.
So,
Right.
it's kind of funny to me that I know I work with some people, other therapists that
Mhm.
work at hospitals, and that's what they teach. That's what they teach all.
Yes.
I love that rhythmic, that soothing, that calming, but then also giving yourself that permission to do it at your own pace, to find your
Hmm.
own pace. Because I think if we can create something that's our own, we're more likely to stick with it,
That's
right?
exactly right.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I like that one. Mine is a little different, and because
Mhm.
it's what I practice, it's like one of the first ones I learned when I was really learning how to create more of a meditation practice. I did
Mhm.
the 4-7-8, the counted breath,
Gotcha.
and I love
Hmm.
that one. But you're
Hmm.
counting, right?
That's
And
right.
so you may not want to do that if you're like, no, I don't really want to do that. Yeah, so I feel like it's so simple, and
Mhm.
yet when we're in that heightened state, when we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're just completely activated because of the chaos in the world,
Mhm.
we forget what we can
Mhm.
do, what we have, maybe even what we've learned. And so
That's
I
right.
always encourage people to practice it, when they're
Mhm.
not feeling activated, right?
Yes, yes. I think
Yeah,
that is so important. I will tell people sometimes set an alarm and just practice your breath at that random time when it goes off.
yeah,
Or, hey, when you're washing dishes, whatever, habit you have that you
yeah,
might do every day,
yeah,
practice breathing then. Because it is such like then it becomes your habit so that
yeah.
when you are stressed out, you will remember, oh yeah, that's right. I'm gonna do this breath work and just get myself centered. Because, yeah, it's really hard in the moment to remember things that we've been taught. Again, if you're stressing out and your brain shutting down and your thoughts are shutting down, you're not going to be like, that one thing that Mary taught
Exactly.
me. Yeah, it's going to be a lot harder to access when you're in that state.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
And something I want to add too that I know you do that I love is when you are practicing your breath work to kind of rate your stress level on a scale of do you do like 1 to 10?
Yeah,
Yeah,
1 to 10.
I love that. And then do the breath work, whether it's a certain amount of breaths or
Mhm.
5 breaths, 10 breaths, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and then rate yourself again just to see where you're at. Because sometimes then having that physical proof to
Mm-hmm.
yourself
Yep.
is makes you much more likely to try it when you are feeling stressed out because you're like, I know this works.
Yes.
Oh,
Exactly. I do have people that are even resistant to breath work. It just feels so
hmm.
foreign to them,
Yes. Yeah.
that they're like, no, there's no way that this is going to help. Especially the people that are saying that feel
Mhm.
like, I don't even know if this is going to be something that's beneficial. And again, when people are resisting even learning techniques, even
Yeah.
learning tools, even learning
Mhm.
strategies, that sort of tells me maybe they're already activated. Maybe they're nervous being with me. Maybe
Good point.
they're fearful of something that's going to happen, or they're going to express themselves in a way that they're not ready to, or feel like they're not ready
Mm.
to. So I
Hmm.
feel like we have to guide people through that. And I think that rating scale is exactly it. It's proof is in the pudding, right? If
Hmm.
you are rating yourself at like a 7 or 8, go through a
Hmm.
series of breath work, and at the end you're like, okay, I'm actually down to a 5 or 6. Even if it's a
Hmm.
little nudge, that's like huge, right? Because
Right.
then we know we can go back through either another cycle or go into our
Mhm.
next strategy if we have another that we've kind of built on. And
Yes.
that's the goal. It's not always going to go from like 10 to 1, right?
Hmm.
Like, that's not
Right.
realistic.
It's magic.
But if we
Yeah.
can just notch down a little bit, then we do have that fuller control of ourselves, right? The emotional
That's
mind
right.
is always online, but like then the logic
Hmm.
and reasoning mind gets back in sync, and then they're able to communicate with one another. Yeah, so I do
Yes.
the rating. I do. I like that too.
I
And
think
I do
that's
it.
good.
I do it for a bunch of different things as well as breath work, but I
Hmm.
think it's good for people to be aware of that.
Yes. And they can do their own self-monitoring. And it really is giving the control back to you, which something you said just made me think of that. Like you are owning the control of that. And when you are feeling very stressed out or maybe starting to panic, everything feels out of control. So anything you can do for yourself, even just like to be like reining it in, is going to make you feel a little calmer and better, I think, also. So it kind of goes hand
Yeah,
in hand with that grounding.
you can't
Yeah.
see my I've got a little banner over here next to this one. It's the Serenity Prayer. When you're
Oh,
feeling
good.
like there's something within your control, something that you can do, it shifts everything, right? Because we get
Yes.
so caught up in the things that we can't control. Those are the things that really
Hmm.
are anxiety provoking for us. And if we can
Hmm.
kind of separate them out and figure out, what can I control? What can't I control? I got to let this one go, which is way easier said than done. But then
Right.
if I'm saying I'm going to control this, and
Hmm.
not,
Yeah.
forcibly, but guiding ourselves, I feel like this is something that we can do. And if we're
Hmm.
in a state, I know when clients talk about panic attacks, and I have had a panic attack. I had one
Hmm.
when I was snorkeling. First
Mm.
panic attack I ever had was snorkeling.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, that was terrible. But when, you're in that state of panic, you don't feel like you're in control of your body.
You sure
It's just
don't.
reacting, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that is something that we'll begin to feel like we can be more in control, more in
Yes.
authority of our own body,
Yes. And
mind
it's
and spirit.
such an important message at this particular time more than ever,
Yeah.
because I think there's so, all the empaths, old soul, sensitive type, whatever you want to call them, especially right now, are feeling so activated by we all have our own anxieties, but then on top of that, this kind of like world chaos that's going on, at least for us,
Yes.
particular country. So
Yeah.
it feels so like the ground is shifting beneath your feet, and it does feel extra. It just everything's extra. We can't control all of that, but you can control your own reaction to that. So just kind of bringing that back and that focus back into you,
Yeah.
your breath, your body, just bringing it back down is really like very paramount, I think, right now. Just get us all back into
Yeah.
our bodies,
Yeah.
take
It's
care
a
of ourselves.
Absolutely, because I feel like even that act of coming back to your body, coming back to your present, getting
Mm-hmm.
your logic, your reasoning mind back online,
Mm-hmm.
feeling a little bit more in control, that's going to give you the ability to navigate the turbulent times, number one.
That's right.
But number two, you're going to start making choices that feel good, right? You're going to start thinking
Yes.
about, how can I release the rest of this stress? Or how can I support myself with calling a friend or taking a walk or whatever it might be? It just affords us that ability to feel like we're back we're back and not being led by our emotions at the next
Hmm.
crisis that is popping
Yes.
up, and
Yes.
breaking news alerts and stuff like
That's
that.
right.
So
That's right. That's
that's
right.
overwhelming in itself.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
again, it goes back to that fight, flight, freeze
Yeah.
reaction. If you are a person who tends to fight, you're constantly angry and combative, maybe. You're not making rational decisions. If you are a freezer, you're shutting down and everything's overwhelming. Or you're just freezing and you're ignoring everything. Like you're not able to really make the choices you normally would. If you're unhappy with what's happening, you aren't making the choices you would to like change that because you're activated constantly.
Yeah.
So it's really not the way you want to be living and not very
No,
good for you. Not
it's not. It's not. It's
very
horrible.
healthy.
it, yeah, it's something that we need to work on, I think,
Yeah.
collectively, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
We are going to be treated to your walking us through this experiential process of breath
Okay.
work, right? Breath work for grounding.
Shoot.
So I'm excited because I'm going to do it with everybody that's going to be watching. And of course, I'm always up for anything that's going to help me just feel like I'm completely regulated. I'm, completely in charge of myself, and
Mhm.
I don't know, I can be at my best most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time. So I'm excited. So what
We
are
do
you
what we
going
can.
to have us do?
Okay, so I'm just going to lead us through the simple breathing technique right now, just so we can all practice it. And it will be counting because I do think that helps sort of focus your mind a little bit, but you can count at your own pace. Typically, what I will do or suggest is that people will count in at least to 4 on the inhale, fully again breathing into your belly, and aim for 6 to 7, a count of 6 to 7 on the exhale. You can pause at the top. I like to kind of pause. If you're somebody who really likes to hold their breath a little longer, feel free. This is sort of like your own method and what works best for you. I will, like, if you're comfortable, we can close your eyes. But like, I think before we start, let's just use your method and just kind of check in for a second and see what you would rate your stress level at right now. And you can just kind
Yeah.
of think about it in your head.
Yeah.
And then just kind of settle your body, let your shoulders drop. If you're sitting in a chair, maybe feet on the floor so you can feel really connected there. Just noticing, where you're sitting. If you're comfortable closing your eyes, you can do that or go ahead and soften your gaze. If you're feeling very stressed, your exhale might be out through your mouth. And if not, you can just breathe in and out through your nose. And then let's begin an inhale, slow count of at least 4 into your belly fully. And an exhale, at least to a count of 6 or 7, fully contracting your belly. And again. Let's do 3 more breaths. You can make the exhale slower if that's comfortable for you, stretching it out. And when you're done, take a moment to check in again and notice what you would rate your stress level at this time. See if that made a difference for you.
Yeah. I can
Oh,
say for myself, I went from a 4 to a 2. But
excellent.
even more important, it got Norbert, my dog, who's always with me, it got a big sigh out of him. When I
Awesome.
started deep breathing, more complete and full breaths, it got him a little bit more relaxed. So again, we're regulating each other, right? Which is
Yes,
pretty awesome.
yes.
But I also noticed, and we've been talking obviously, but I also noticed I was clenching my jaw. So
Ah,
while I was sitting in that relaxed position and focusing on the breath, I noticed my jaw released, and I was like, I didn't
mm,
even know I was clenching it, you know? But
yes,
it's
yes.
interesting what our body's doing that our
Mhm.
mind isn't always like tapping us on the shoulder and letting us know like, okay, you're actually in that state of tension, right?
That's
It
right.
may not be overwhelm, it may not be feeling anxious or having a panic attack or anything like that, but feeling I'm not completely relaxed is
Yes,
huge. And
yes.
I want to say, I was thinking about this and I wanted to say this before and I completely forgot about it. When you were talking about extending the belly, when I
Hmm.
was going through my meditation training, I didn't realize how tight women
Yes.
hold the gut,
Yes, we
right?
do. We're
We
trained to
do.
suck it in like all
Suck
the
it in.
time. Nobody breathes normally. Like,
No.
right? Like you see little children and how they breathe, and they're always fully into their belly. And at some point, we stop breathing that way. And
It's all it's all up
yes,
here. It's all up
that's
there.
right. That's right.
Yeah, that was really interesting to me. And now I know that like I'm like let it all hang out when I'm doing
Yes.
breath work or meditation. And
Hmm.
if you're doing this in the privacy of your own home, you should feel safe to release everything. You should feel like
Exactly.
there's no judgment, there's no criticism, and we're able to just relax and release.
That's
And
right.
I don't have great posture normally, but I notice when I sit to meditate or to do breath
Mhm.
work, I do sit a little bit straighter.
Yes,
And
yes.
that is even just an indication of like how often I'm hunched over typing or, leaning in listening to
Right.
somebody. So I feel like just having that little bit of time, a little bit of breath work to just check in with my body and to slow that pace to relax the body fully.
Mhm.
For me, I was able to notice a difference. So I'm sure people that are listening or listen to this later will be able to also notice that change too.
Yes, yes. And I think it's so true. Like, how many of us at the end of the day are like, my jaw, or I have a headache, or my shoulders hurt. It's because we've been like this the whole day and with our jaws clenched, and we don't realize it. We really just don't realize that
Mhm.
until like the end of the day. And we're like, ouch, I'm sore,
Yes,
So,
exactly.
so I think it's so good. I mean, even I like realize, oh, like my shoulders were up here and just, yeah. So anytime you can just kind of let that tension out, so good for you physically, but also just again, let your body know on a very like subconscious level, I guess, really just you're safe. You are
Yeah.
safe. Yeah, it's really deactivating for your stress. So it's great. I'm glad that we were able to do that
Yes, thank you so
experience.
much. Thank you.
Yes.
I love to receive it as much as I love to facilitate
Same,
it, right? I
same.
think most people, most people feel the same way. Yeah. Well, for everybody that's listening, thank you. If you've made it this far, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you didn't fall asleep during the breath work, but if you did, that just tells you that your body really
You
needs
needed a
rest.
rest.
Yeah, and that's okay too. But if you want to go a little bit deeper, Angelica and I are actually offering a 5-day, it's going to be free, 5-day,
Mhm.
I'm calling a mini masterclass. I
I
don't
like that.
know. It's going to
Sounds
be,
good.
yeah, it's going to be kind of like an immersion. We're going to actually walk you through, we're probably going to
Mhm.
give you tips, obviously, but we're going to walk you through each day of how to go deeper into the grounding, how to really be able to thrive during these really chaotic and turbulent times.
Mhm.
So we're super excited. We're going to host this on Zoom together,
Yes.
and that's going to be May 12th,
12th, May
right?
12th.
Yeah.
Yep, the week of
Mhm.
May 12th coming
Yeah.
up.
I know it's just right around the corner. Yeah, so
Yes.
I'm super excited, and I know we've already talked about what we're going to offer. I don't know if there's
Mhm.
anything that you're really like pumped, psyched to share with people,
No, I
or
am.
just like,
I love to dive like deeper into this whole topic because I think it's what people are coming to us the most right now is they're just so stressed, so anxious. So I think really getting further into this, and I know we're going to be offering meditations, we're going to be offering Reiki during these meditations. So it will be not only, I think, just good information, but a really nice healing practice to try for a week. And I mean, that's a great way to kick off a practice and a habit if you're not doing that.
absolutely. I feel like anytime we're trying to create a new habit,
Yes.
it takes a little bit of time. It
Mm,
won't be just 5 days, obviously, that
right.
you'll need to
Right.
create routine.
It's a good launch, maybe,
It's
but
a
yeah.
good launch. It's a good place to start. And I
That's
think it's
right.
a little mini challenge of showing
Hmm.
up for yourself every day.
Yes.
Self-care
Yes.
during turbulent times, so needed. So
So
this is
needed.
just your commitment to yourself of I deserve time for me. I deserve time for me to
Yes.
feel good.
Hmm.
So I think this will be fabulous. And we probably should have launched this, months ago, but
We're all getting our feet under us, I think, right now, so it's okay.
exactly, exactly. Yes, I hope everybody tunes in. I'm going to put the link in the
Perfect.
description below. So,
Okay,
people, if you're
perfect.
interested, you just click on it, it sends you over to the registration, and you're good to go. And as I tell everybody when I offer things on Zoom, you do not have to leave your camera on for
Oh, good
confidentiality or
point.
just for comfort, especially when we're
Yes,
meditating.
that's
I think
right.
sometimes that can be a challenge. So obviously you're checking out my video on my channel at Rivers Journey Wellness, but I'm
Mhm.
also going to be posting this to our channel. Angelica and I are launching our own channel on YouTube. It's
Yay.
going to be at Two Everyday Crones.
That's right.
So we have been talking about this for so long. We want to have some tips, some conversation, maybe even
Mhm.
a little experiential opportunities
Yeah.
for people
Yeah.
to partake in. But as I'm working with the divine feminine energies, I'm stepping
Mhm.
deeper into how do we create that balance within ourselves to honor that feminine energy, but also balance that sacred masculine in ourselves.
Yeah.
I just thought that this would be a really good opportunity for us to bring something, to bring that
Yes.
to women that are empaths or highly sensitive or
Mhm.
light workers, anybody in the healing or
That's
helping
right. Yeah.
profession.
Yes, yes, exactly. I'm super excited to be doing this with
Yay.
you, Mary. I think it'll be fun, and I think it's going to be really necessary and helpful right now for
Yeah,
people. Yeah.
exactly. Totally. All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, for checking us out,
Yes, thank
and
you.
we will hopefully see you in the 5-day mini
Yes,
masterclass.
looking forward to seeing you there. And thanks again for having me, Mary.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. All right.
Yay.
Take care, everyone.